Hello, welcome to our third season of 1036 here on Milwaukee PBS. I'm your host, Portia Young. In this episode, we'll learn about a project to save historic heritage apple trees found on the former Badger Army ammunition plant site in Sauk County, Wisconsin. Many of the trees predate World War II. We begin with another in-depth look at local Congolese refugees and the courageous stories behind their journeys to Milwaukee. Remember these names: Fabian, Angelani, Yvette, and Tabi. You won't forget their stories. Unimaginable stories of life in the war-torn Democratic Republic of the Congo and years living in a refugee camp in Tanzania. And remember the name Troubadour, a local bakery that's given them all a hope for tomorrow.
Every day I say hello to everybody, and every day I say goodbye to everybody. Acknowledgement is extremely important. Good morning, Brandon. My name is Richard Spector, and I'm director of Troubadour Bakery. Jumbo! How are you?
Jumbo happens to be Swahili for hello.
Jumbo.
Richard Spector happens to employ 4 refugees from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They join an already diverse workforce, eager to welcome someone new.
Jumbo! Oh, there you
Fabian and his wife Angelani, and Yvette and her daughter-in-law Tabi are among the 60 employees at Troubadour Bakery in Bayview, part of Colectivo Coffee.
They have great smiles, and I can tell they're good people.
Nikufurahi tu kama tunasema kitu kenye kinatufurahisha.
That's our weapon, that's our secret we have, it's smiling. So we feel happy for everything that they do for us.
Wache tule sawa.
We smile every day, we go to lunch at the same time and the same place. So we have our own way we communicate to each other, and you can tell this is about love.
Edumakono Zetho has a great smile, too. He's an interpreter and refugee case manager for Troubadour's 4 refugees. He's also a former refugee from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He's now a U.S. citizen.
We have almost the same story of life. I can help more than somebody else can because I know what they went through.
Zetho, as he is called, says he and his agency, Catholic Charities, help the refugees in all aspects of resettlement.
We help them with employment, but we also have another department that helps refugees with cultural orientation and ESL, because most of them, where they came from, they cannot speak English at all.
The United Nations Refugee Agency oversees the resettlement process and refers the most vulnerable cases to resettlement countries. Refugees do not apply for resettlement themselves. They also do not choose where they are sent. The process is a bit complicated, but generally resettlement agencies try to place people where there's an existing immigrant community from the same country, where there are people who share the refugees' cultural background and language. Or they may go to a community where a family member or friend is already living. These refugees knew no one in Milwaukee.
We felt warm welcome in Milwaukee. The people in Milwaukee are really super nice.
Bringing the refugees into the workplace go hand in hand with the boss's philosophy.
We've never had refugees here before. These folks needed some work. We needed some help. I really look at it that simply. I felt responsible that we needed to have the staff reflect the face of Milwaukee, which is a very diverse environment.
Like Yesenia.
I don't know if he's right or not, but I like that. It actually made a difference in my life. So I learned a lot of new things culturally.
And John, known as JB.
I've been working here going on 3 years. Everybody's friendly, everybody's cheerful, the environment is really positive. You know, the diversity makes a difference here. Like different cultures of people and stuff coming from different countries.
And Ricky, who started as a dishwasher and worked his way up to manager. For Ricky, working as a team, no matter who you are or where you come from, remains a priority.
We're giving everybody opportunity to express themselves. From my heart, working with the people here, working with the diversity people, just the everyday communication with the team, the everyday coming into work and being able to work with different people, it's amazing. There's
Lots of different ideas coming from lots of different people. It creates some challenges in that sometimes obviously language is a challenge. There's some cultural differences, but it does provide a richness to the working environment. You know, the richness also is, I mean, people just have different experiences, and it forces people to communicate a little bit harder, which is a good thing also.
Cheat sheets offer helpful reminders, just in case.
20, right, Yvette? 20 pieces? 20? 20. Okay. There's a lot of like body language and just working in each other's space that I think we've all gotten used to a little more, even if English isn't being spoken. There's a lot we can communicate just by, you know, moving in and moving out and stuff like that.
We didn't speak Swahili or French, and they didn't speak English. It's been a long road, but I think over time we were just kind of forced to work it out through pointing, Google Translate. Spoken language isn't always tied into communication. I think empathy has a lot to do with it.
The jobs that they're doing, they're very teachable jobs. Most of the training is really through demonstration.
I'm actually working alongside the refugees. When they first started, it was really confusing. Like, how do we explain to them how much of each fruit goes in a cup? So that's where I buckled down and I started weighing out every fruit. And we have all of our scoops with colors. They've come a long, long ways. It's exciting. I'm excited. I just want to tell them, like, great job. And we can say that. It's Kazizuri. And so we've tried to make an effort in learning words like that.
The first day they worked with me, I drew some pictures and I was able to show them because I didn't know what to say to them.
The most important thing for me is that I want to make sure that everybody is set up for success and we're optimizing people's potential. That's really what gets me coming to work every day. I try to treat them like any other employee because I think that's important. And if someday they want to convey what life was like in the Congo, you know, I would love to listen.
Listen carefully.
Watu wanauawa.
The value of humanities does not exist in Congo for now. The country is not safe. People die every day. Women are sexually abused. They have no value as human being in Congo. I was really scared because women were the target for both ways. The people was fighting against the government all this, the government soldiers. So I was really, really afraid, but I thank God I was not a victim of sex assault or sex abuse. But my sister was a victim.
Ndugu yangu aliuawa na mimi tuko pale tu, tuko tunakimbia na
My beloved brother was murdered on my presence in 1996.
Sehemu moja wa kuuliwa na sisi tuliponea.
I thank God on behalf of my family that no one in the family was kidnapped or killed, but we see our neighbors was killed in our presence.
Maisha niliona Congo.
Life for children in Congo at that time was hopeless, fearless of everything. Children was living with no education. I don't think I should be alive if I was in Congo. The way we see in the television, the way we listen to the radio, it seemed like our generation was ended in the Congo because of the war. Children the main target. It's crazy. We don't know what they want.
Tabi left the Congo when she was 6 years old. Then she spent 20 years in a secured refugee camp, but lived without electricity, clean running water, and little food. Fellow refugees Yvette, Angelani, and Fabienne experienced the same.
Ilikuwa vigumu sana mbele.
I never have a thought that one day I will live long as I lived today. And I never thought that I can move in the United States. I never knew, I never even have an idea that how I can come in the US. Because the process of resettlement is so hard in a refugee camp. But I thank God, my family and I, we did it.
Back at the bakery, co-workers are aware of what these refugees have endured.
Just from personal experience, anytime I've seen the Congo in headlines, it's usually not a good headline.
I just don't want them to come over here and make them feel that they're being treated the same way. You know, I want them to feel that they're loved, they're respected, and, you know, they have some type of work, you know, and make them know that it's going to be all right.
They do believe it's going to be all right. They came here to Milwaukee and to Troubadour with a mix of unending hope, undying faith, and self-fulfilling dreams.
We learn from the Bible, there is time for everything. There's time of peace and time of war. There's time of joy, there's time of circumstances. If you learn that, in your mind you will say, I know it was a time. I must be joyful because I know God is on my side.
Nilifurahi sana sana.
You know, the life in the camp, we was dreamless. We never have a dream that we can think bigger. I never worked any hard job in my life. I was a nurse. I love to help people. If I can compare my life right now with Colectivo where I work, bakery, it's a hard job. That's why I do my best. I want to go back to school to make sure that I do the job I want to do. I want to become a nurse. That's my dream.
Kulipa nyumba na matumizi mbalimbali.
I'm so lucky to have that job. Number one, the job itself, it's helped me to provide the basic needs to my children and my husband. The job helps us to pay rent and all the things that we need in the house. But also, the best thing is I make people live. When I do my job, people eat.
kwa maisha mazuri.
I love everything. When I mean everything, it's because of the lifestyle that I was living in Africa. I was really poor, I was not able to provide anything for my family, but today I have the privilege that I can do anything for my family.
At the end of the day, we're still all the same. We still have tremendous amount of potential. we all still deserve respect. And with that respect and treating each other positively, that should help overcome most challenges, quite honestly.
These refugees would most likely agree.
All 4 refugees have begun the process toward American citizenship. In addition, Edumakono Zetho has started the Zetho Foundation in hopes of helping orphan children back in the Nyarugusu refugee camp in Tanzania. 1036 plans to follow Zetho's story as he heads back to the refugee camp later this year. We here at 1036 want to thank all of you who attended our screening of our refugee stories, A Hope for Tomorrow. Held at Colectivo Coffee on Prospect Avenue in Milwaukee earlier this month, those in attendance had a chance to meet some of the refugees and their families, hear from the producers of these wonderful segments, and enjoy some Congolese music and culture. Let us know what you think of the stories, like the refugee stories seen here on 1036. Call us at 414-797-3760 with your thoughts and your story ideas. We'll give you that number again at the end of our show. It's apple picking season, so this next story is very timely. A project is underway to help inventory and rejuvenate the historic heritage apple trees still found on the former Badger Army ammunition plant near Baraboo. Now, even though the Army removed the farm buildings, the schools, and churches on the land back in 1942, many of the farmstead apple trees survived.
Okay, ready? To you. This interest in the apple trees and what they represent started with our friend Mike Mossman. Mike, we asked to come out here and do some surveys of the bird populations.
That first summer, after they announced that the plant would be closed, I ran my bird survey. I got permission from the Army and Dairy Forage, and we just ran transects north-south throughout all Badger. And you came across these farmsteads, and they just started becoming very intriguing and almost, ghost-like. Seeing something like the apple trees was always a sign of, life surviving and the culture and the lives of these farm families surviving in some way. So they became very sort of symbolic.
And it's a moment to pause and think about the rich history that's embedded in layers on this landscape. It's starting with the native presence, which of course goes back 10,000 years. But in modern times, this was land occupied by the Ho-Chunk Nation. So the Ho-Chunk lost their landscape here in the late 1830s in a series of treaties, leading to the creation of the farming community of Sauk Prairie. At Badger, we had a little more than 80 families out here from the 1840s on until 1940, first century, until this dramatic event comes along when World War II breaks out, the bombing of Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, and then immediately the U.S. government said, we need to come in and have your farms to make the Badger Army ammunition plant.
One day, my grandmother answered the door to the knock of the postmaster, who delivered a registered letter. And when they opened the registered letter, it was on the U.S. government letterhead, and it says, you have hereby signed and accepted the $1, and there was a crisp $1 bill in it, as your down payment. And they were all kicked off their land in less than 60 days.
So this farm was one of those 80 farms. It's the Huber farmstead. And there's still some remnants even of their barn. And it did have this big old tree that we call Methuselah sitting out here in what then probably were pastures or crop fields. Just a couple things jump out at you when you see a tree like this. This is a survivor. This is a tree that has seen a lot. And it keeps on doing what trees do. It keeps growing, it keeps producing fruit, it keeps putting out its leaves and collecting sunlight and carbon in the soil and all that.
And most of this stuff was dug up pretty well out here. It's really hard to find any. I have some notes from when I was doing the bird surveys, but mostly I was just kind of noting where the farmsteads were, marking them on a map, and then coming back and getting a look at them when I had a little more time. But it was the presence of things like apple trees that made them compelling to come back to.
And it took some time, 15 years actually, before we got serious about saying, well, let's go back and see if we can really document those trees. Then we began the process of finding these trees, tagging them with these little aluminum tags and putting little markers on them because they're a little hard to pick out. We got up to 150, 60 trees. The next step then was to see if we can select a few of the ones that we feel are either special or were representing a historic farmstead, or they were old and we feared we might lose the tree, or that really tasted really good, and see if we can conserve that genetic heritage of apple trees here at Badger. Maybe we even have something that's really special.
We may not ever find a name for some of these different apples, but there are some that I tasted today that are absolutely phenomenal apples. Those ones that just, when you bite them, it's just like, this is good.
Part of the reason we're doing this whole project is that we have lost a lot of the diversity of our apples over the last century. According to Dan Bussey, we had about 17,000 extant varieties of apples a century ago.
Most commercial orchards dispense these old varieties as so much being obsolete. But the thing is, why are we still growing them? Why are people still collecting those things? Because they have that unique combination of flavor and quality and characteristic that make them so distinctive that it would be a serious loss to not have them around. So the more you know what's out there, the more you get spoiled, as I am, that it's hard to go to a store and buy an apple because they just don't taste the same to me.
So what we did is we got the piece of scion wood that we grafted with, put it on the rootstock, and now that we have them growing out, what you see on these little signs are the number of the tree, and you also see on most of them names of the farmer and farmstead from which that tree came. So we'll be able to track back to where these trees actually came from, and that allows us to connect the tree to the farmer, to the descendants of the farmer, with the ultimate goal of creating an orchard and inviting some of the farm families and their descendants from those families to come back and actually plant the trees themselves as a way of honoring the sacrifice of those families at the outset of World War II.
This also happens to be the homestead of the Kinchi family, and when we came out here on the day of the apple transplanting event, it just so happens that the grandson of the family that owned this farm was able to transplant the first apple graft into the ground here, and that was a really important moment, I think, for this project.
I was extremely close to my grandfather, maybe even closer than I was with my own father. The day they opened the gate here that we could come in and plant the apples and I could put my hands in the dirt that he had farmed was really, really special. So this was the first apple tree that was planted, and this one was the second one, and that was planted by my son. So.
It's a painful chapter in the history of our community here. And so these trees were their legacy, and they're not here anymore. The families, however, are still in our community. They're our friends and our family and our neighbors and our in-laws, and I know a lot of these families have become friends with many of them. And so by doing this project, by taking some of these old trees, grafting them, propagating them, creating a little nursery now, and hopefully very soon in the next couple of years creating an orchard, we can reconnect this landscape to those families who were alienated from this place. So here we are. It's a simple thing, an apple tree. Everybody knows apples, everybody loves apples. But a simple thing like that can tell a really rich story.
If the name of the producer of that segment looked familiar, you're right. Anders is the son of our Milwaukee historian and Around the Corner regular John Gerda. Watch for more stories from Anders coming up right here on 1036. And let us know what you think about the stories seen here on 1036. Call us at 414-797-3760. Plus, share your story ideas with us. We'd love to have them. That's 414-797-3760. And remember, you can always check us out on MilwaukeePBS.org and on Facebook. We'll be back next month for another edition of 1036, November 15th at 9 p.m. here on Milwaukee PBS. We leave you with a view from above, the colors of the season here in Wisconsin. See you next time.